Hey YouTube, Joelboy here. So today is finally the day. You have asked this question a ton of times, and for the most part, I've only answered this question in a half-assed kind of way. But the question is what is the One Piece? And so I plan on making 3 separate videos with 3 different sort of endpoints that I think are relevant to this discussion of what I think the One Piece is. The first one, this one, is going to be more general, and I think more likely to be true than the other two. And the other two are going to be much more specific, 2 separate ideas to possibly explain exactly what I believe the One Piece is, pretty much as specific as I can get on the topic. And so a neat thing about this is that it's actually also true that potentially all 3 of these videos could be correct, even with different conclusions at the same exact time, which you will understand after you watch all 3 of them. And so each video will have an ending I think you can get behind, but I think that it's about time that I share my thoughts about the One Piece with you. But just as a side note, this idea was highly inspired off of the best theory the One Piece community pretty much has ever produced, in my opinion, which is called the Inherited Will. So firstly, let me reiterate something I've said now on countless times, which is that back in the Skypiea arc, whenever Robin encounters the poneglyph in Skypiea, she intimates to us basically that the Rio poneglyph is located on Raftel. And we're also led to believe through Crocus that the One Piece is also located on Raftel, which highly suggests that the Rio poneglyph is part of Roger's treasure. But it's just part. There's another piece that we're missing. Just the history alone is not the kind of reward that we're expecting Oda to come up with for what the One Piece is. There should be something else to it, and that other half of it is for the most part been mysterious to a lot of readers of One Piece. And I want to touch on this other half that I think that the One Piece is, and how it relates to the history. And so what I've intimated to you guys in the past is that I don't believe that the One Piece has anything to do with wealth by itself, like actual material wealth, or contains a weapon whose sole purpose is just to take lives, etc. I intimated this in my post, Buggy's Secret, the One Piece, in which I talk about how Buggy, being a member of Roger's crew, should know what Roger's treasure consists of. Buggy spent presumably years traveling with Roger, and so regardless of whether he ended up going to Raftel or knows where the island of Raftel is, he should at the very least know what Roger was collecting along his journey. And if it was something that interests Buggy, then Buggy would then be attempting to take the One Piece. But in the entire story of One Piece, and the many scenes that we've seen Buggy, he's never once mentioned a desire to find the One Piece, although he has mentioned a desire to be the Pirate King. But these 2 things are mutually exclusive. They're not the same thing. And so from this, we should then suggest that Buggy doesn't think that the One Piece is something that he wants, which would mean anything that Buggy actually does want that is revealed in the story shouldn't be part of the One Piece, which would include wealth, gems, etc., and weapons that would make Buggy stronger. In fact, I don't believe that the One Piece, the other half of the One Piece, part of the Rio poneglyph, has anything to do with any real physical objects. One thing that's clear is it's not weapons and it's not money, and if it's not weapons or money, then what kind of physical object would truly be something that Roger would value, would be Roger's treasure. And based on his character and the many scenes that we see him, there's really no object in particular that sticks out to me. The one exception to this is being that it's possible that the ancient weapon Uranus is also part of the One Piece, but the caveat that I have for this possible situation is that if it is the ancient weapon Uranus, and if Buggy knows what Roger's treasure should be, then Buggy must know that he can't use this ancient weapon, whatever it might be. And so what I believe, is that the One Piece, Roger's treasure, is a dream. And so while there is some differentiation that we can make between the various treasures One Piece characters have, one thing we can be certain of is that a treasure is something that to a character that they're willing to fight for, to defend, and to protect. And so in this case, I think that a dream is definitely something many of the main characters, including Luffy and probably Roger as well, were willing to fight for. I certainly think that dreams can't be overlooked as potential treasures in One Piece. One thing that Oda touches on in the story of One Piece is the fact that each person has their own individual views on what treasure means, and what their treasures are. And so in the case of Buggy, his treasures are materialistic. But in the case of Luffy, his treasure is his straw hat, while although an object represents more so his dream. His dream to one day fulfill the promise that he made to Shanks to be a great pirate in the future. A man's dream is a huge theme in One Piece. Almost every single major character has a dream in which they treasure something that carries them forward in the story and helps them progress as people. And so I don't think it's ridiculous to think that Roger's treasure involves Roger's dream, or a dream perhaps that he inherited from the past. And so I think this ties extremely well with the other half of the One Piece, which is the Rio Poneglyph, the true history. There's only one thing in the entire story of One Piece that we know for certain that Roger was interested in and valued, and that is the search for poneglyphs and the understanding of what happened during the Blank Century. That Roger specifically went around the world multiple times, we're led to believe, in search of poneglyphs. This is literally the one thing that we know that Roger conquered the Grand Line for, was to find these poneglyphs, and therefore I think emphasizes the poneglyphs' importance to Roger. However, the poneglyphs themselves are just rocks with inscriptions on them. They themselves hold little value. What's most important isn't the poneglyphs themselves, but what's written on them, the story the poneglyphs tell. And so at this point, I want to touch on this subject, which is that Oda has already told us what the One Piece isn't. In an interview, Oda said, based on the question on whether or not the ending of One Piece was already determined, Oda said, "Yes, I already decided on how it's going to end. Should I tell you now?" And the interviewer said that, "Well, I want to know, but I probably shouldn't. But the One Piece, it's not something like the growth your heart went through, right?" And then Oda responded, No, I won't be pulling off some kind of Wizard of Oz thing like that. After having gone through an adventure like that, it wouldn't be fair to not actually give them a reward." A lot of people use this quote to basically say that this means that the One Piece has to be a physical object. But I don't think that these people understand what actually is going on in this quote and what a reward actually means. Which is that all this quote is emphasizing is that the journey itself isn't the One Piece. That there's actually something that they will obtain once they reach the island of Raftel and find the One Piece. I think that it's definitely possible that what they obtain once they reach Raftel and find the One Piece is knowledge itself. I find it interesting to note that knowledge is often remarked upon as the greatest treasure. And there's actually a quote from One Piece that actually ties together all of the points that I've just made here in a couple simple panels, which was Whitebeard talking about Roger and his inherited will and the One Piece during the end of the Marineford arc. And he says a couple fascinating things and that ties together everything here that I've just said. As he was talking about Roger and the people who have inherited Roger's will, he then talks about how that will has been passed down from long ago, and that in the future someday a man will appear bearing the weight of centuries of history on their shoulders to challenge the world. After saying this, he says, "I wasn't interested, but when someone finds that treasure, the world will be shaken to its core." And so the direct implication here is that that will that has been passed down from long ago is that treasure that will shake the world to its core. But this isn't just any kind of treasure, this is the One Piece. One Piece does exist. And if only to further the idea that there are different kinds of treasure that each person could have, Whitebeard then comments on what his treasure is, which no one can believe is a real treasure, is that Whitebeard, all he wanted in life was to have a family. And I think this emphasizes the idea that the One Piece is also not a typical treasure that many people would understand as being a treasure. And I honestly believe this answer for what the One Piece is fits best out of any of the current ideas out there. for what it could actually be. It fits within the theme of the story of One Piece. And so to answer this question in its simplest form, what do I think the One Piece is? I think the One Piece is the story of the ancient kingdom versus the 20 kings back during the blank century, and that this story intimates the dreams of the ancient kingdom which it passed down to its children, the family of D. And if you checked out my theory on what the Will of D is, then the Will of D then would also be highly related to the One Piece itself. I find it interesting that the ancient kingdom specifically marks Raftel as an important destination that can only really be found by following the poneglyphs. And then we learn that this destination that can only really be found by following the poneglyphs is at least rumored to be the location of the One Piece itself. So I believe this hugely connects the ancient kingdom to the One Piece. And so really astute readers will have noticed that in the beginning of this video I said that the true history and the Rio Poneglyph was only part of Roger's treasure. But here I've basically argued that the Rio Poneglyph is essentially the entire One Piece. And my response to this is that it's just a different way of looking at this same thing. The idea that the Rio Poneglyph is the One Piece is a really popular one out there, but I think without the context, without this argument that it's not necessarily the true history itself, but the dream of the ancient kingdom that was passed on to its descendants, and then ultimately Gold D. Roger, that this is actually the One Piece, just from an argument standpoint, makes a ton more sense than just saying that it's the history by itself. There's more than just the history. It's not just, you know, analytics and dates. It's also about the ideals that the ancient kingdom was protecting, and how it related to their future that they saw for the world. And so I believe that this future that they envisioned is more likely to be the One Piece than necessarily the history taken as it is. And so the next question is what are the dreams of the ancient kingdom? What is this future that they envision? What are these ideals that they are protecting that basically intimate what the One Piece is? This is what I'll be talking about in my next couple videos about the One Piece. So that's what you have to look forward to from me. But for people who have already watched the majority of my videos, I'm pretty sure you could already guess as to where I'm going with this. But I'll leave it open-ended for now. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and leave a comment expressing your opinions about the video. Just let me know what you think, and then together as a community we can work towards finding possible answers to the biggest mysteries One Piece has to offer. But with that being said, I hope everyone enjoyed this, and subscribe if you're new to my channel and you want to be notified for my future videos, specifically my videos about the One Piece. And as always, bros, have a wonderful day.